Linda Andros, Chaplain Linda Andros. Welcome to a missional moment. And to all of you who are visiting with us today on this missional moment, we have with us a very interesting person and also mission that God has given her. And we think this is a very missional moment. So Linda, welcome to a missional moment. I'd like to ask you to explain to us a little bit about what you do so people can get to know you before we get to talk about what's going on in Houston in a few more months.
I am a chaplain for the Urban AIDS Ministry Task Force for the City of Houston. A very interesting job. Actually, we work as a dynamic with churches to inform their communities or congregations, as it were, about HIV and the implications and thereof of testing and way of testing, education. So whatever is needed to bring the HIV information to the forefront is what we do.
Well, you and I met at a citywide meeting, the NAACP. They had came to Houston to talk about helping Houston understand the needs of people at risk. And you were sharing something with me that day that I think really our audience needs to know about this huge compassionate project for the City of Houston on September the 11th, 2011. Tell us a little bit about this compassion project, the name of it, and how you got involved in that.
Well, it's a newly formed organization called Compassionate Houston. And basically what the goal is that we actually saw, as a chaplain for myself, I was actually a chaplain for a year within Harris County Hospital District, and had the opportunity to have so many different opportunities to minister to underprivileged people, especially, terminally ill, but mostly HIV, the HIV community. I was actually the chaplain at Thomas Street Health Center.
I see.
And I was the staff chaplain there for a year, and encountered so many cases of where they were so ostracized by the churches, and they had no place to go for spiritual care. So that brought on an onset, a floodgate, as it were, for me, because I opened up my heart as just looking at them and just had to give compassion out, because it was just so unbelievable, the level of neglect that they suffer, and it has put a burning passion within me, an amazing burning passion within me.
Well, it's almost interesting, though. You're speaking about the people that the Bible would call, or in biblical days, the Untouchables, and how you were beginning to see that many of these people didn't have a relationship with a local church, and those that did, the church really didn't do very much in addressing or assisting in that case of the needs of these people. And I guess that drove you to where you are right now.
Yes, and so right now I'm actually playing a dual role. As I said before, I am actually the chaplain for the Urban AIDS Ministry Task Force for the City of Houston, but I've also been a co-partner with a new organization, that's Compassionate Houston, with Reverend Betty Adams. And basically what we found, as with the HIV community, that's not the only place where there's a lack of compassion in our world. Because life happens daily, we live in a traumatic state daily. Whether we're driving on the freeway and someone cuts us off, we drive in apprehension because perhaps we've been in a car accident before, and those traumas never seem to heal. But in our time of need, we're looking for someone to have that hand, that gentle touch that all of us so much need daily. And so what we discussed was that there's such a lack of this, we need to bring it back to the forefront. And how to do that is basically realize that no matter what our denomination, what our faith, what our culture, what our ethnicity is, basically we all, as a basic need to find compassion in our daily existence. And how to do that is just spontaneous act of kindness. You have a flat on the road, you're praying that somebody stops. Myself as a female, for sure, because I don't like changing flats. But it's just basically I'm praying for someone just to stop and help me change a tire, or going and bring a meal to someone who's shut in and can't get out. And I remember I had the flu, and just not being able to get up and get me a bowl of soup was exhausting and just so emotionally draining. So I can't imagine people that are actually living in that constant state. It reminded me of the lepers when Christ came, and they, when he entered the cave, they said, no, don't look upon us. Don't enter in, don't come in. He said, but I came for you. So if he came for them, why can't we come for one another daily?
Interesting. So 9/11, September the 11th, which is a very significant day for Americans in particular and the world,
Yes.
As we reflect on what happened that day in New York. Tell us a little bit how that associates with this particular project.
Well, this is actually the 10th year commemoration of 9/11. And for 10 years now, we have been angry. We've been frustrated. We've been grieving and mourning the ones that have been lost. And I believe now is the time to begin to start to heal. And the healing must begin somewhere. 10 years is enough.
Yeah.
And so I believe that as we extend ourselves out, and I just say basically just volunteering to help someone that you know just has a basic need that you feel that you can meet, reach out and do that. So as experiencing the Thomas Street community, have set up a plan. Okay, well, let's see if we can just get some people to volunteer some clothes, some food. A lot of times they live in decrepit situations, you know, their houses burned down, so they have needs. But also the cancer patients that are shut in. What about them? What about the battered and abused women? All of these are communities of people that need our compassion.
Wow, they need a touch.
They need a touch from God. They need a touch of our hand.
You had told me earlier about how for us to be able to be a city known as a place where God is, that we need to be a city of compassion.
Yes.
Because that's when God is, when He's here, believe me, He would be, healing the sick, preaching the gospel to the poor,
Yes.
setting those who have been held captive free, deliverance.
Yes.
And many of us are believing that Compassionate Houston could be that tool that will enable Houston to be known as a place of compassion, a place where the Lord is. I remember the Katrina event when 250,000 New Orleans citizens came to Houston looking for help and couldn't go back home because of Katrina. Houstonians came out from everywhere, and Houston was known around the world as a city that was a place where the Lord was, or compassion had taken place. What is your hope as it relates to this project? The end result, what would you like to see happen? Did I describe it in such a sense that this is something that you would like to see happen?
Most definitely, and I believe I don't want it to be something that only happens when trauma happens, when a traumatic event or a catastrophe happens. But we should live in a state of compassion from day to day. So wherever we see a need, it's not like we have to wait for someone. We know that it's already developed. It's something that's sure. I'm going through something, somebody's going to show up. Why? Because there are compassionate people in the city of Houston. And I love the dynamic a lot of times that when we reach out just as normal citizens, we'll reach out, and just someone in the grocery store who can't pay for their own groceries, just reach back and pay for their food. Or, the grandmother who can't get out, children don't go see her, perhaps somebody go and visit. I want compassion to be a state of being from day-to-day living in the city of Houston.
Very good, very good. Now, you told me that there are about 15,000 501c3 or community project developed organizations that are out there daily, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, doing a lot of great stuff. And what you're doing is you're bringing these individuals together to be a tool that the city or the citizens of Houston and Greater Houston can partner with. Kind of explain to us a little bit how this process will work.
Well, what the process works is basically we are going to work with like Service Houston, Volunteer Houston. So these are programs that's already established within the city that's actually, creates a volunteer spectrum.
I see.
And so we're partnering with them to gain volunteers for all the nonprofits that are in need of service.
I see.
So as we reach out as a bridge to connect both together, that assures a different level of compassion, because the city of Houston runs on volunteers, believe it or not. If I'm quoting correctly, that we were discussing with the mayor's office, and I think like $6 million worth of volunteer service in a year. So I feel that as we volunteer our time, our efforts, our services, other people get their needs met. That's compassion. So I believe that it's already being done. I think the emphasis needs to be put on it. There needs to be a light shed on it from day to day. But I think on 9/11, to say that we are ready to heal as a community, as a city, is basically, let's do it in a massive way. That means that every venue that we can actually think of would actually show up and volunteer, from churches to grocery stores to you name it. Everybody shows up and does something for someone else.
On that day.
On that day. Say, look, we're healing here. How can we help your city heal?
And this
Model
is
this.
on September the 11th. That's on a Sunday too, isn't it?
Yes.
And really the church is busy with religious stuff going on. And it reminds me when Jesus gave the parable about who's my neighbor. He told us the parable about the Samaritan who came by and rescued this gentleman.
Yes.
But there were three religious guys that passed by, the religious guys that passed by and just left him hanging. But this good Samaritan came along and took care of his need on that very busy religious day. Tell us how others can get involved. If they wanted to be an agency that has hospice or whatever, and they want to get you to get volunteers over there, are there people churches, pastors who are watching this video that will say, we want to get our congregation involved in connecting with these kind of organizations? How could they do that?
Basically, there are several different venues. Actually, Volunteer Houston has a website, and they can go to that. Also, ServiceHouston.org has one, and then CompassionateHouston.org has one. So there are 7 different venues that they can actually tap into. And what they do when they go into the website, they'll look for the tabs that say volunteer. I want to volunteer, or they're looking for an agency they would like to volunteer their services to. But they can go to that, and they can actually sign up. And then it will be sent to Compassionate Houston by numbers and percentages, and letting us know how many people in the city is actually participating on this weekend.
Wow. So you're hoping the Greater Houston churches of 4,500 to 5,000 churches on that day will say to their congregations, on this particular day, we're going to worship God, but also serve humanity.
Yes, because serving humanity is actually worshiping God. It's one and the same.
I was hoping you would say that.
That's no difference between the two. And I think what we all have to remember, it's not only going to be churches.
Yeah.
So as the hand of God, as the shepherds of God, with the sheep, we should be the first ones on the forefront.
Yeah.
We should be the first ones on the front line, said, I'm willing, whatever it is. And churches can actually come up with their own programs. They can decide, well, we're going to dedicate this day and we're going to go out and help the orphans. We're going to talk to the city and go and visit the orphans, do a program with the orphans. Yeah. Or let's do something in our church and invite all the homeless in our community to our church.
Yeah.
So there's things you can do right there, right where you are. Wow. You don't have to come out and go anywhere else, or go to the website. You can just send in and say, look, this is what our church is going to do on the weekend of 9/11 to bring compassion back to Houston.
Wow, this is awesome. I guess the folks who are listening to us will probably say, well, what does this have to do with a missional moment? It has a lot to do with a missional moment, but because this is what missions is all about, is me being a missionary on behalf of Jesus Christ. But you just said something that really kind of helped me to understand why we're doing it. We're doing it is because we're modeling for the city as Christians that this is who we are. And we invite you to go on a journey with us in caring for our city.
Yes.
This is unique. Tell us a little bit what other organizations are out there that are saying, hey, yes, we want to do this?
Well, Habitat for Humanity is going to be working with us. Also, Interfaith Ministries is working with us. The Blood Bank of Houston is working with us. There are so many of them. Yeah. It's hard, to say. We have branches of Divine Deliverance, Eastgate Women's Organization, picking up 1,000 cell phones for battered and abused women's shelters.
Wow.
The Cover Me project is actually where they collect 1,000 blankets for the homeless for the wintertime. It's going to be distributed to different shelters around the city. So there's so many that it's kind of hard to say what all of them are, but it's just amazing that they're coming out in large numbers to participate and say, yes, I want to be part of this weekend. I'm ready to heal.
Wow. Well, this is very good, Linda. And I hope that those that are listening to us will get this compassion bug that God has given you. Thank you for bringing it to us today. Because we believe that a missional moment is a moment with you. You are that missional moment in our city. We thank God for you. Anything you'd like to add to this before we conclude?
I think if I had to say anything in conclusion, is that each one of us are unique. And each one is a different person. So what each one of us bring is a different dynamic
Wow.
to compassion. So for each one that doesn't participate, we're going to miss that. We will miss your uniqueness, your oneness.
Wow.
So for everyone that participates, we're happy. But remember, we need the individualism. Because for each individual, we collectively make a group.
Wow, that's good.
Okay?
That's a good recommendation. That's a good thought. Thank you so much, Linda, for being with us. And if they want to get in contact with you, they can call or email.
Compassionate Houston.
Okay.
.org. That's our website it should be up in 2 weeks. That should
Okay.
be done. But if they want to contact me personally, my email address is chaplainandrus@yahoo.com.
Okay. Spell Andrus for us.
Andrus, Andrus,
Okay.
and yes, that is Creole. So for those of you that don't know, but I'll be more than happy to correspond with you. We're just waiting by. All you have to do is just get contact with us, and we'll shoot you out the information.
Yeah.
We're very excited about this, and we're very thankful.
Mm.
And I want to say that in advance. You know, thank you for your heart.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for your compassion.
Yeah.
Thank you for your love that you want to distribute to the body of Christ. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. We're very grateful to you as well. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching another missional moment.